Hey, I want to make a quick tutorial about something that I've been trying to do in After Effects for years, and that is doing shape morphs, or face morphs, or just object morphs with like fairly good precision and good accuracy and pretty good results. I'm going to be using Bow Layer Sculptor. It just came out fairly recently in 2018, and it accomplishes what I've been looking for a Morphing plugin to do for a long time, which is put an object on another object or deform one object according to another one. Inside of their like little videos and tutorials, they have a tutorial on some face morphs, and they kind of discuss how it was made, really cool, but they don't go into the process. And that's what I want this video to be, is like kind of deconstructing what they did here and reconstructing it within the limitations of the plugin, and then building out a version of what we're trying to make, which is just going to be a simple face morph from one actor to another. I've done a test of this before, and I'm trying to reduce and simplify the process, reduce the number of lines, and keep the quality high, see like where I could go. I think this one could have benefited from a little bit more resolution in the morph, but it's a pretty good start. This was my first one, so it was like just a test, really. Here you can see how it's set up. I have one line for the top of the head, the hairline, meaning the forehead, and then I skipped everything and just went to the top eyelids, and I didn't do anything else. Inside of their video, you can see that they have a lot of different lines accounting for many different shapes that you could probably use, but I think is maybe overkill. We're going to go in between this number of lines and the number of lines I have here. So one for the width of the nose and kind of like just the middle. There's one for the actual crease of the lips, one for the base of the lips. I think we're going to add one for the top of the lips and the little, I don't know what that word's called. It's slipping my mind. One for the base of the chin, and then one for just like locking the bottom of the picture. So the picture I'm going to use today is this one. And there's also some steps that you have to take into getting to the point that you can do work. I'll be doing this photograph, morphing from Brad Pitt to Leonardo DiCaprio. So first we need to just divide this one image. This is like a combo image that's from People magazine or something. I tried to find something that wouldn't be flagged for copyright really, but this still could, who knows. So what I'm going to do is copy it into a new composition, and we're going to rename this to just Pitt. And we're gonna go into composition settings and divide this by 2. Now this resolution is very high, so it's probably going to be overkill. And what I would do is, no matter what, you have your 2 compositions the same resolution, and then you scale them to each other, and we'll go over that. So I'm going to divide the width by 2. Oops, but we don't want to constrain proportions. That was bad, because we just want to single out one person. Okay, and we'll just kind of move this over. I'm going to hold control, and this little white bar, we can take care of that. It's coming in here, and let's just drop this down to 25. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Alright, so you can take that. I'm renaming it to Face Pitt. I'm going to just duplicate the composition and call it Face Leo. Open up the Face Leo composition, and I'm going to duplicate the image. You'll see why. I want to move this into the center frame about, and then what I recommend doing is like an initial lineup, and the thing that we're going to base this on is the eyes. Like a lot of things change, even the eyes are different distances apart, but it's best to have like a home base, and the eye is a really good candidate for that. So I'm going to put the anchor point with Y right in the middle of the pupil. Okay, and I'm going to lower the opacity, and this will make sense I think in a second, and I'm just going to match up the pupil to the pupil. That looks good. And then from here, we're going to use rotation and scale, so holding Shift and R and S, to get the other eye to line up. So first, we need to pull it up just a tiny bit, scale it in just a tiny bit, and maybe rotate a little bit more. Really, if those eyes are set, I'm not saying your work is done, but you will have a much stronger start because you're not fighting as much. And then from there, you can crop in a bit more, but I'm just going to leave a dirty edge because you can paint over it or mat it out or whatever. This background should be matted out, but we're not worried about that. So now we have our face Pit and face Leo. The Leo face is lined up to Pit, which is good. So we're going to start with this one, and we're going to get this one to come in. Okay, so what we're going to do is take these two compositions that we just made and drop them into another composition. So this is a single composition. Don't need a sequence layers. Still duration. They're not stills or compositions, so it should be fine. Okay, so now you could like flip between them. We have what we had before. It's just that they're on separate layers. Great. So what you need to do is just focus on one. Focus on one face for now, and we'll get to the other one later on. And this is all done again with the bow shape. The bow a layer sculptor plugin. It's pretty affordable. It does the same thing as a lot of different other plugins do. So what I recommend doing is defining the very top of the page, just putting something in there loosely. Hold Shift so it's straight. We're going to do one that is like where his head would be. I'm going to ignore hair. I don't know what the results are going to be. You hold Control or Option, whatever, to end that mask, and you start a new one. Start here. And I'm just this is guessing. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so this is the top of the head. Then we're going to do the hairline. This is going to be pretty much straight across. Hold Control to start a new mask. And I'm going to put an anchor point in each of the kind of areas that I want the definition to control. So we're going to be changing the way the hair is, the way the hairline is, and this should offer enough shape definition. We're going to do one for the eyebrow. We're going to add an eyebrow in, and I think that will be alright. If not, you can always come back. So, and if you're making more on the same mask, that's fine. Just undo and hold Control or Option, start another mask. And I'm going to go to the edge of the hairline. So this is above the ear, edge of hairline, and it's also going to account for the shape of the eyebrows. And I'm going to kind of put it on the bottom of this eyebrow, like this line that's going up and softly blending into here. So I will put one here, and we're going to kind of, I recommend making it symmetrical. I should do tests that push the limits, like if you can break the constraints, sort of, to the hairline in the top of the ear, and then pretty much straight across at the ends is what I'm trying to do. Okay, and now we're going to do the top of the eyelids. We're going to kind of skip most of the stuff, but we are going to start in the same position. So a new one here. I'm going to just totally ignore the ears, focus on the hair. Straight across. Okay, and I think since they both have kind of squinty eyes, it's not going to be that extreme, but I will go ahead and do a bottom of the eyelid because I think that might be a safe one to always do is top and bottom of eyelids. So hold Shift, hairline, hairline. I wouldn't make these touch. Some of this work is just probably tedious more than anything, but this will put you in a stronger start than their quick little demo of what the tool can do. You can move these after the fact. They don't have to be perfect, but it helps. And now I'm going to jump all the way to the middle of the nose, the tip of the nose, sorry. So about over here. I'm going to insert a point for the cheek area, I think. Maybe I'll just make this the bottom of the ear as well, and then straight over. So we're going to add in 1 point here. So you can kind of see his cheekbone goes in. And sometimes there's like a little dance you have to do between one vertex to another. I think it helps to have these be rounded, kind of with the shape of how the object it's representing is supposed to, just to continue this contour. Those ones should be fine. Now we're gonna do I'll do the lips for now. And some of these I think you can change after the fact, it just requires some reworking. And just come over. Okay, so that's good. Then I want to check and see what their outfits are doing. I think you could do one at the base of the neck where these shirts are, but it doesn't need to match perfectly. We'll just do a new shape at the very bottom. And let's do a shoulder. Pretty much so when there's a separation of materials, whether it be skin, fabric, or pieces of, I don't know, just objects. That's where I'm dividing it. I'm going to continue this 2 point that I did. People get this little crease on their neck. I'm going to use that as my point of separation, and I'm trying to imagine it as like you could draw on his neck. So it would go around. Okay, so if we come here and we lower this and we get our... Oh, you know what? We put all of our masks on the wrong layer. That's fine. They need to go on both anyway. Okay, so here, if you kind of crank this up and down, you can see some of the shapes that we have been building. I want to add in some. I don't think it should look like the person at this point. I'm going to add in like this bag under the eyes. Sorry for calling it that. And it's also going to account for the tip of this the sideburn haircut trim going on. I'm just holding down Alt. I think it's Option on a Mac. Okay, cool. Now let's lower this. We can see most of the detail. Okay, this is where the fun part sort of is. Who knows? You can use and see these masks when you have another layer selected, or like on top of it, since they go all the way through. So we're going to have this layer. If you press M, we're going to now convert these points to match up to Leo's face. I'm going to select all of these. We're going to drop one keyframe right here so you can see it's all lined up. I'm going to clean up my workspace. And then I'm going to press the U key to just see those keyframes. Okay, and I'm just going to go to the end of my composition, or a 9, whatever. You just want to be able to put it at the opposite side. And now this is where we're going to come in. We've laid in the work of where the points came from, and now we're going to lay in the work of where the points need to go. So we are going to pretty much just repeat the process, but just adjust each of these lines. Adjust the Beziers, adjust the shapes, adjust the points, but having a solid groundwork sort of really helps, because sometimes you just have to move it and it'll work. And then I recommend not moving the outer points and holding shift to move this initial mask shape laterally. This is where the hairline kind of changes. It goes in a little bit more on him. He's always had a bit more of a widow's peak, which might be interesting to see how that shape develops over time. You can break something that used to be a corner into a softer shape. Again, this can always be tweaked later. Let's get in and work on the eyes. Okay, so this is our initial morph, and this is probably what you're here for. This is where I'll fast forward to for a short version. We have all these masks on just one face, but what we need to do is put them on both faces. So you're just going to select all your masks, go to frame 0 or frame 1, and you're going to paste them onto Leo. So they're in the wrong position, and they go to his right position. And for the Brad Pitt image, they are in the correct position and they go to the wrong position, or to where Leo's facial proportions are. From here, we're going to do layer sculptor. We're going to drop this onto him. This is where you need to pay attention to your masks and their order. So what we're going to do here is turn this off. Select what we're just going to go through and make sure the order is correct from top to bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there's one that we added, a blue one. Green, red, blue, yellow, cyan. Another blue one, a brown one. Where's this green one at? Where is this green one? Oh, that's the very bottom. Okay, put that at the very bottom. Okay, and now this will respect the order that the masks are, and we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 11. And we don't have an in-betweener, that's just fine. Okay, so if I jump over to my face morph that I did, you can kind of see these I actually labeled to what they were and started putting numbers in so I wouldn't get confused. Pretty much what you have is one face morphing to match the shapes, and this other layer is on top, and it is just like fading on over time as it's morphing into itself from this first part. So you can definitely see some weird crazy shapes that happen if you don't have the other layer. It almost becomes like a caricature. Still identifiable as a face though. And then there are different things where it's like you have your selection time in frames. That's what we're going to use a lot. And we don't really have to worry about overlaps with what we're doing. And then once you have this set up, you can copy it and you paste it onto the Leo. And we're going to say that we don't need that many samples really. Selection time, that's what we want. So we're going to go to the last frame where our pixels are, and we can see that it's at frame 299. I'm at 30 frames a second. So 299. And if we turn this on and back up, you can see that this is morphing from this point to this, and just doing that, that almost looks like Chris Pine right there, but this is a little bit Brad Pitt-ish. But you can kind of see just how like the face just totally shifts. Alright, so getting that I think is the hard part. We're going to turn on this bottom part, the Brad Pitt one, and we're going to get the opacity up on both these things. We're going to do a keyframe. Alright, and now we're going to just see what we have. If it's rendering slowly, you can drop the number of samples and subsamples. It doesn't effect too much, but I think before you do your final export, you'd want to raise it. Now let's see what we have. Okay, so there's some things that aren't exactly perfect. Like it looks like his chin is not at the right point. I don't exactly see what's going on yet. I'm trying to examine it a little bit more. I'm going to move everything so it's happening at 1 second and at 9 seconds. I think the change of angles of the nose, it's like one camera's higher than the other one, ends up causing a little bit more distortion. It doesn't seem like this Leonardo image should be affected quite as much as it is. Let me solo it down to here. Like this point doesn't make sense to me. Right here. But I guess that's kind of what can happen. Maybe, I don't know. There, we made Chris Pine, whatever. Let's see what Brad Pitt looks like with his face all squished. Rugged. From these points you can kind of see what the sampling does. Since you have the same effect on both layers, one just is referencing a different time, it gets a little bit confusing. So if I put this to 10, this to 10, yeah, you can start getting a little bit cleaner edges here. And this is almost as interesting as the face morph, just the final image. There's like weird stuff that can happen with it. It's like this one if there wasn't a fade on it. Let me put this to 20. Let's render it again. Okay, so here it is rendered. And again, not perfect. I'm still working on refining my workflow, but this is a way to get you started. Probably be better to, you can almost make a template file where it has the masks and shapes layered, and you could just paste that and then move verts around. But it's easier just to start them. I want to look at things that work well. So let's pay attention to the hairline. Let's just look at the hairline. And I like how it does show kind of receding hair to more of a widow's peak. That's working really well. Let's look at just the eyes. They lined up pretty well initially. There's a slight little blur that happens. And then you can see the eyebrows kind of like pull out, maybe? Out and up. I think that's really interesting. Let's look at the nose. Again, this had different camera angles, so you probably could go and detail the nostrils. We could do that with an additional shape. The lips don't seem to be respecting the change as much. I don't know why that would be. Maybe let's make them rounded. I don't care about low samples personally. You just put it to 5 and 5 so it renders quickly. I'm going to put Bezier tension on. I assume that that is not treating everything like a corner point if it's up. See if that can help. Yeah, I think also having that top ridge line would really help. So that right there, I just modified one of the masks, mask 8. So I'm going to copy this, go to the keyframes on here. We're going to find mask 8 on there, and we're going to paste that in. Because if you change one, you have to change the other. I guess what you could do, you could expression link them to each other. Let me try that. This also could have been getting out of order. Very possible it was getting out of order. Because now that I'm in here, you can see that I did not adjust this lip area right here. So what was right there, this I think is what happens when you have corner pins and it's trying to match corner verts. But really this looks like it's out of order, honestly. Name your layers. That would help. Name your layers. Oh, whoa, this doesn't even have all the same ones. Let's delete this. I think that moving this one will help. This is just going to trace like the corner of the neck and jawline entirely. There we go. So we broke that chin where it was poking out. We fixed that. I think that this one would benefit from going higher. There's still some weird stuff that happens like in there, but this is a way to connect and refine. Let's go in. I wish there was a tool, like a way to add one mask in between, like directly in between, because currently you have to rewire everything and it's kind of a pain in the butt. Like if I wanted to go in and redo these nostrils, it would look much better, but the work that's involved is much higher than it should be, in my opinion. I'm going to move this point right into this crease of this dimple. Then from this point, move it into the crease of that dimple. See if that helps. That's interesting, but I don't think it's doing what we want. I'm going to move it to this one. Let's go for the nose fix. It's going to start here to here. I'm going to do where the nose connects to the face. So that goes right after that one, and we're gonna drop a keyframe on it. It's gonna go into this one. I'm going to do a top of the lip too. So what we did there was clean up the nostrils and the upper lip, so the boundaries wouldn't be as slidey and undefined as they had ended up becoming. There's still a little bit, maybe it'd be easier to paint out the nose hairs of one person so it'd match up a little bit better. There's an interesting like softness that happens with some people's lip. And I think also the facial hair is covering it up a bit. But this is a fairly convincing face morph from one person to another. There's lots more details you could add, or you could mask out the shapes or whatever you wanted to do. But this is the initial way to approach this, and the caveats currently of having to, like if you wanted to update your thing, you pretty much have to reorder it, redo the settings on the effect layer. I think I want to try and get this area. It's, if you look at the morph, it kind of like breaks the dimple, I guess you'd call it. And I think that it's in the wrong spot on this layer, or this time. Like I'm not sure how it works. There's some people that know much more face anatomy, and I think they could make some really compelling results with this. Whereas I'm just an idiot. I'm going to add this Bezier tension again to both of them. That fade on the eyeball is a little bit annoying, but let's look at a smaller internet size. This is still big. Now let's say we wanted to export this. We could do that really easily. We just drop this all into a new composition. I am kind of sort of losing my favorite part, so let's try to get that back in.